Have you ever told a coworker something in confidence and somehow your manager knew about it by the end of the day? Or maybe you've been in a meeting where someone agreed with you privately, but the minute the boss walked into the room, suddenly they had a completely different opinion. Or maybe nothing dramatic has happened at all. You just have this feeling that I don't think I can trust these people. And if you've been feeling that way at work, don't ignore it. Because one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is assuming that someone being friendly with you means they're safe for you. See, friendly and trustworthy are not the same thing. And today I'm going to give you 7 signs that you may need to be a little more careful about who you trust at work and what you can do about it without being paranoid, isolated, or afraid of everybody in the building. And stay with me because number 7 is the one I think people overlook the most. All right, sign number 1. They bring you everybody else's business. Like this one seems obvious until you're actually in it. So you have that coworker who always has the information. They know who's getting written up. They know who's looking for another job. They know what happened in somebody else's meeting. And every conversation starts with, don't tell anybody I told you this, but. And here's what I want you to remember. If they're comfortable bringing you everybody else's business, eventually you will be everybody else's business. Don't confuse being included in gossip with being trusted. See, sometimes you're simply today's audience. You don't have to confront them. You don't have to make a big announcement that you're no longer participating in workplace gossip. Just stop giving them information you wouldn't want repeated. Sign number 2, they only support you in private. Have you ever heard someone tell you, I completely agree with you? You're absolutely right. I would have done the same thing. And then you get into the meeting and silence. Or worse, they suddenly agree with everyone else. See, pay attention to people whose loyalty only exists when no one else can see it. I'm not saying your coworkers have to fight your battles for you. But if someone consistently tells you one thing in private and behaves completely differently publicly, you need to recognize that pattern because that's information. Sign 3, your conversations keep coming back to you, right? You tell someone something, a few days later, another coworker makes a strange comment about it. Or your manager asks you a question that sounds suspiciously familiar. And you're sitting there thinking, how did they know that? Once can be a coincidence. But when it keeps happening, pay attention. This is also why I tell people to be very careful about using your coworkers as therapists. Your coworker may understand exactly what you're going through. They may. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're the person who should know everything you're going through. Sign number 4, they ask questions that they don't need the answers to. There's a difference between someone being interested in you and someone collecting information. Are you looking for another job? What did the manager say to you? Why were you in HR? Did you get written up? How much did they give you for a raise? And sometimes they'll package it as concern. Girl, I'm checking on you. Maybe they are. But you don't owe your coworkers access to every part of your professional life. You can be warm. You can be friendly. You can have wonderful working relationships. And you can still have boundaries. Sign number 5. They change depending on who has the power. Watch how people behave when the manager walks into the room. Watch how they treat people they believe can't do anything for them. Watch what happens when somebody gets promoted. Some people aren't loyal to people. They're loyal to the proximity to power. And if someone's personality changes depending on who can help their career, be careful about assuming the version of them you receive is permanent. See, you don't necessarily need to stop dealing with them. You simply need to understand who you're dealing with. Sign number 6. They take credit but disappear when something goes wrong. When the project succeeds, look what we did. When something goes wrong, well, that really wasn't my part. That's a problem. Trustworthy coworkers don't have to take responsibilities for mistakes they didn't make, but they also don't rewrite history to protect themselves. If you're working with someone who regularly takes credit when things go well and distances themselves when they don't, start documenting your work. Save important emails, confirm decisions, keep track of what you completed. Not because you're preparing for war, because you're protecting your professional reputation. And that brings me to the last sign, which is sign number 7. You feel like you have to constantly watch what you say. This one matters. If you regularly leave conversations thinking, I shouldn't have said that. If you rehearse everything before you speak, if you're constantly wondering whether something you said is going to be repeated, twisted, or used against you, something about that environment deserves your attention. Now, I want to be careful here. Feeling uncomfortable doesn't automatically mean everyone around you is untrustworthy. Sometimes previous workplace experiences can make us more guarded. But if your feelings are being reinforced by actual patterns, gossip, broken confidences, inconsistent behavior, information being repeated, don't keep talking yourself out of what you are observing. Now, what do? We got to all those signs. I gave you 7 signs, and you may be thinking, okay, like some of those, I see some of those signs. What do? You don't have to blow up the relationship. You don't have to send an email announcing your boundaries. And you definitely don't need to walk into work tomorrow treating everybody like they're your enemy. Start smaller. Share less. Observe more. Document important conversations. Keep sensitive conversations with the appropriate people. And most importantly, stop giving workplace access to people who haven't demonstrated workplace trust. Because boundaries at work aren't being cold. They're about understanding that everyone who is friendly with you does not automatically need access to you. Because what happens when you realize that I really don't trust these people? How do you protect yourself without becoming isolated, looking difficult, or blowing everything up? See, every Wednesday I go live, and this Wednesday, that's what we're talking about at the Self Care Live show. When you can't trust anyone at work, here's how to protect yourself without blowing everything up. And if workplace relationships are already draining you, watch my video about the work friend who's actually making things worse. I'll see you at work.